Leeds is the starting point for Stage 3, which promises to be the toughest of the tour. The 104-mile route to Sheffield includes 2 first-category climbs, one of those being Home Moss. This is one of the toughest A-road climbs in the country and is well known to cyclists, having featured in countless races, including the Milk Race, Leeds Classic and the Tour of Britain. At the top of Home Moss is the BBC transmitter, and apparently on a clear day it can be seen for miles and miles around. It was built in 1951 and in its day was the most powerful television transmitter in the world. It brought BBC broadcasts to 11 million people in northern England. Nowadays, though, the 750-foot mast is used as a radio transmitter, carrying FM radio signals for national and local radio.
BBC Radio Leeds.
Well, there we are, the city of Leeds, and ahead of the riders today is the toughest of all the stages in the Tour of Britain. So the field getting ready to roll out here of the Millennium Square, and the punishing terrain ahead of them is certainly going to decide a worthy winner when they get to Sheffield.
Probably the most nervous day of all for the Quick Step team. Very difficult terrain over which to control a race, so they're going to have their work cut out today. A
couple of the Spanish boys there at the front who are riding on the Comunidad Valenciana team. Whole field spread out as they head towards the edge of the city. Stage presented by Yorkshire Forward, and already we've got a little group that's formed off the front. 13 riders here in this gathering, and they're going away nicely.
Well, that's a good sized group, and I can't see any Quick Step riders in there, so they've really missed the boat here. They've made a tactical mistake, and they're going to have to work hard to bring this group back. It's quite a large size, and it is working well together.
Well, there's the danger man, Bowman. He's only 1 minute 18 back off the yellow jersey, so the Quick Step team will not be very happy about him being ahead. And this is Michael Rogers, the world time trial champion, at the head of the main field.
No, they've got a lot of work to do, and you can see the professionalism here. They've realised their mistake and they're instantly regulating it while they're working out what to do. Well, these are the 2 main teams that could lose out here, so they're discussing tactics, when they're going to work and what they're going to do about this breakaway, but they simply cannot let it stay away if Bowman is in it.
Well, this is the first sprint in Otley, and here we go. Bowman picks up the 5 points, but more importantly, he picks up the 3 seconds. That means he's chipping away at the gap that he trails the overall lead.
Well, it's a difficult one for him because they've got into this move. We see a lot of moves establishing in this race now because of that big breakaway on the first day, but he's the one person that could spoil this for all the other riders there.
2 minutes and 6 seconds now. It's beginning to grow, and Quick Step will surely not allow this to develop any further. They're now on the foot slopes of the first climb, the Cow and Calf, rated as a second category ascent, so there's 6 points waiting for the first rider at the summit. And just look at the crowds.
Well, any rider who wants to go for the King of the Mountains competitions, they're going to have to start today. Second and first category climbs, that's an awful lot of points on offer.
And right on the left there is the South African champion, that's Ryan Cox. Julian Wynne to the right of him. Wynne due to retire after the Commonwealth Games in Australia in Melbourne. He's going to be the coach for Wales then, and Wynne makes his big effort to the line. He will get the maximum points, 6 for Wynne then, and 5 goes to Cox.
Well, Cox left it late there if he really wanted those points. Wynne, former winner of this competition, you can see he left a very small gear, which meant he could accelerate very quickly, and once it was left that late, then nobody had time to come back at him.
As the result confirmed, Russell Downing actually finishing in 3rd position. The Downing brothers, who both come from Sheffield, are in this leading group, and they would dearly love to try and win the stage. There's the advantage, 1 minute and 18 seconds.
Well, I think that was Bowman who just came back. Now, there's an interesting tactical move of the T-Mobile team. He realised that he was going to make sure that this breakaway got caught, and he's got a teammate in there, Bram Schmidt, who is not a threat to the overall classification. So he's actually opted to volunteer and drop back to the main bunch to give this group a chance of staying away, and with it, of course, his teammate.
Well, nearing the summit of the toughest climb of the day, Home Moss, and Julian Wynne right at the front there. And his nearest challenger is Ryan Cox, the South African champion. And Cox looks as though he's going to try and force Wynne into 2nd place.
He's just trying to squeeze Wynne against the curb there. See if he could just keep him pinned down, but Wynne was having none of it. Still a little bit far to go yet, Hugh.
So he's won 12 points so far. First over both the climbs. Now he's looking to try and get to the top of Home Moss. Oh, top of Home Moss first. Well, I don't know about that.
Well, I'm not quite sure what Cox is protesting about. The fact that Julian Wynne didn't ride into the back of that car, perhaps, but Julian Wynne having none of it.
Just about avoided a crash, didn't he? Anyway, he's over the top first, and that will be 10 points for Wynne to add on to the 12 he's already won. So he's beginning to build up a nice lead in the King of the Mountains competition. 9 minutes and 35 seconds now, the advantage for the front runners.
Well, it's a well-established break now.
Now this is Tom Southam at Bolo World. Now why on earth is he jumping off the front of the main field? Surely he can't expect to bridge 9 minutes to the leaders on his own.
Well, it is a rather curious move. He's going to get across on his own, that's for certain. Perhaps he's just trying to stimulate the chase a little bit. He feels that all the main teams have decided that they don't need to bring this breakaway back, they just need to regulate it. So perhaps just some frustration, Hugh.
Step still tapping the rhythm out at the front of the main peloton of the yellow jersey, having a nice easy armchair ride at this stage of the competition. They're just about inside the second half now, and there is confirmation of the Home Moss result. 10 points for Wynne, Cox finishing in second place, and so that means that Julian Wynne now is the leader of that competition.
Well, it certainly looked like a steady pace to us, but there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable at all. There's a lot of fractures starting to appear in this main group, a lot of people breathing hard, and a lot of them, most of them in fact, will be very happy to get over the top of this climb.
Well, there's still another route to be negotiated, and that's the Snake Pass, and there's one or two deceptive little climbs as well after Snake Pass as they approach Sheffield. Downing boys are just tucked in the wheels there, and they know every inch of the roads around here coming from Sheffield.
So Mark Cavendish there, struggling a little bit on the climb. 20-year-old European and world champion. Fantastic start potentially for the future there, and I think we'll see him joining a Continental Pro team pretty soon.
Well, we're over Home Moss, the fast descent ahead of them. Let's join Graham Bell.
At the start in Glasgow, we said that number one, Michael Rogers, was leader of the Quick Step team. But over the course of the race, Nick NUYENS has taken yellow and held on to it. Going over Home Moss, we saw that the hierarchy of the Quick Step team had changed. Michael Rogers has now come to the front of the group, sacrificing his energy in order to chase down the breakaway. This is a clear sign that both Rogers and the Quick Step management believe that Nick NUYENS can win this race.
I think there's a lot of other people believe that as well. He's come into this event in superb form, and he's got a very strong team around him. This is Glossop, and they're approaching the final big climb of the day, the Snake Pass.
Well, if any of the other riders don't feel the same way, well, they're going to have to do something about it, and this is the point in the race where those attacks are likely to happen. They're really going to have to try and fracture this strong Quick Step team, and on the climbs is the best place to do it.
Well, there's an attack developing here off the front by one of the Comunidad Valenciana team. So this means that they are trying to take the race away from NUYENS and put the pressure onto them. And this is Antonio OLMO MENACHO. Now what it means here is that Quick Step will be forced to have to chase him down.
Well, this is a race within a race, really. Clearly they're not riding for the stage win with the breakaway well clear at the moment. What they're trying to do is trying to force Quick Step to work hard and use up their team, and it may even be to try and create a springboard for his teammate to get across.
His teammate Cheto Molina is actually hiding in the wheels, and what it means is that if Quick Step have to pull this man back and expend energy, we may well see a reaction from Cheto Molina, who is lying third overall at the moment.
What Quick Step will want to do now is they'll ride at a very strong tempo. That's not absolutely flat out, but enough to discourage other people from attacking.
There's Julian Wynne. I must admit he's had a real brilliant ride today. He's been actually full of power, and he's bounced his way clear of the field again. He's been over the top of all three climbs so far completed in first spot, and now he's looking set to try and add another valuable 10 points to his tally.
Well, he's certainly gone early on this one, decided he's not going to wait for the sprint this time, but there is still quite a long way to go. I wonder if he's gone a little bit too early there.
22 points he's amassed so far, Now then, what's going to happen here? I'm waiting for a reaction from the front of the main field. Still plugging away in no man's land then is the Spaniard.
Desperately trying to fracture this breakaway.
Win at the front. Cox, the national champion for South Africa, right on the wheel with him. It's the sprinter up there as well, Luca Paolini in third position, and the big rangy fella on the T-Mobile team is Bram Schmitz, the Dutchman.
Well, he's big, but he certainly looks to be climbing comfortably there, and he's not making any attacks because he knows there's still quite a distance to go at the top of this climb, and he's going to need some people with him. He's done some damage at the other end of the breakaway though, but if they can just stay, those riders that have been distanced can stay within 20-30 seconds, they'll be able to get back on the descent.
So the quintet of riders then tapping the rhythm out at the front and setting themselves up for the sprint for the points. Jose Martinez Jimenez has joined those four to strengthen the front group to 5, and Cox making an early strike for the line. Here comes the reaction from Wynne on the right, and Julian Wynne looks to have the measure once again of Cox, and he sets himself up for another 10 points. So full house for him. 32 points amassed today. Cox second again over the climb, Paolini third, Schmitz fourth.
Well, he had to work hard for that one. He tried it to a breakaway and then he had to go for the sprint after all, but he knows what his job is. It's very clear. It's not the overall. It's getting this mountains jersey, and today is the day he's trying to make an unassailable lead.
Experienced rider Wynne, former national champion now. Then here comes another reaction from the Comunidad Valenciana team. This is the man that's lying third overall, Chero Molina, and he bridges the gap to his teammate OLMO MENACHO and now goes ahead. Well, they really ride into a game plan, trying to put the yellow jersey under pressure.
Well, MENACHO just not going quick enough there. They'd set up that springboard to get across, but it just wasn't going fast enough, so he's decided to keep going, and maybe if it all fractures behind him, he'll find himself with 1 or 2 companions and they'll be able to drive that all the way to the finish.
Quick Step will be aware of that though. This is the descent now down the other side. We're looking at the Irishman coming across here. This is Roger Aiken, just linking up to the back of the front group.
Just got one more climb to get across today, and he'll be there with a chance at the finish, so he's done a good ride today.
It's a deceptive road this, the running to Sheffield. Whilst 1 or 2 of these ripples and corrugations they have to negotiate before the finish are not categorised, they are heavy roads and can certainly sap the strength. He looks good.
Well, Molina's holding that gap. He knows he can't stay away from the lead group, or rather the yellow jersey group on his own, but he's just waiting to see if somebody can bridge that gap. Looking at his face though, it looks like the real desire has gone out of that one, and he just doesn't think it's going to happen. Still, if you don't try, you definitely can't succeed.
T-Mobile there at the front. That's Bram Schmitz, man who finished runner-up in the Tour of the Netherlands a few seasons ago. Now this is an attack off the front of the yellow jersey group. This is Zacek from the Navigators team. Now he's only 19 seconds off the overall lead, so I can't imagine the Quick Step team letting this fella go far.
Well, that's exactly what Molina needed, but too late now. He can't get together. He'd already decided that it wasn't going to work. He needed this to happen much lower down on the climb to get a decent lead by the time they crested the summit. But that's not going to happen. I think this group's going to come back together. Incredible damage done though here. We consider the size. It was the peloton at the bottom of the climb, and now it's just a small chasing group.
So just dangling off the front, he's looking back to see whether anybody's going to come up to him to share the workload. Certainly not going to do it on his own. He could do with somebody, some company.
I think this is a fairly pointless move now. It was way too late in the climb to do this. He needed to build up a good gap by the time he got here. It hasn't happened, and I think he's just wasted energy now.
So there is the result confirmed of the last climb. Wynne gets the 10, Cox gets the 8 points. And what it means now is the overall, you can see it's a 6-point cushion advantage for Wynne over Cox. So he'll pick up the polka dot jersey at the end of the stage. This is the Lady Bower Reservoir. Riders have little time to admire any of the scenery here. There's a very serious competition unfolding as they're heading on to Sheffield. 7 minutes and 45 seconds, so it's come down a little bit.
And a lot of people, we can see that the pace has eased slightly there, and a lot of people have been able to rejoin on the descent.
It's the big city of Sheffield that's waiting the arrival of the riders, and I think Quick Step will be happy now with the situation. Carnival atmosphere building here in the city as they wait for the riders to arrive. Lovely sunny conditions, and the race has drawn a massive crowd. There's Eleanor and Katie, the girlfriends of the Downing brothers. And looking at the back of the leading group, Russell Downing, the national champion, has once again made it to the leading group.
Very handy sprinter, Hugh, but he tends to have one good punch and that's it, so he's got to time his effort carefully. He doesn't recover well, so he really needs to think about when he's going to use that effort.
Certainly have the advantage of knowing every twist and turn as he makes his way into his home city, and there's his brother Dean Downing coming to the back of the group with 1 kilometre to go. What a fairy tale finish that would be if one of the Downing brothers could finish first. This is the chasing group. The yellow jersey you can see is the second wheel back, so he's defended that jersey very, very well, cleverly as well, and good support from his team.
No, it's just one teammate left, and he's keeping the pace high to discourage anybody else from making an attack on this final run-in.
Well, this is the right-hander into the finishing straight, and Bram Smits, the Dutchman on the T-Mobile team, has gone for an early one. Now then, has he got the legs to hold the rest off? Here comes the challenge from Paolini on the quick-step team. Paolini, bronze medal winner in the World Championship, is coming round Smits into the closing stages now, and Paolini takes it. Smits is second, and look at that. Russell Downing finishing in third place. Good ride by young Downing.
Smith's desperately trying to pay back his teammate Baumann for sacrificing his own chances, so this breakaway stayed away, but he just didn't quite have it.
Look at the look on Smith's face, and what was he saying? He was absolutely disgusted with himself. This is the sprint from behind containing the yellow jersey, and Bloudson of CSC team is leading this one out. The yellow jersey is comfortably engulfed in amongst those riders, so there will be no change in the overall situation. It looks like Cero Molina is going to come up over the line first ahead of NUYENS, but it means that the overall situation remains the same, and Russell Downing takes a well-earned kiss from his girlfriend Eleanor.
Victory by Luca Paolini handed Quick-Step their second stage win from 3 days racing. The Italian's win also gave him the lead in the green jersey classification. Russell Downing brought home the British contingent, finishing third, with brother Dean crossing the line in 8th. Yellow jersey holder Nick NUYENS and challenger for overall Michael Bloudson rolled over the line 3 minutes and 39 seconds behind the stage winner, Michael Rogers, finishing in 27th. Terry Hodgkinson, chair of Yorkshire Forward, awards the third yellow jersey of NUYENS' Tour of Britain campaign to the young Belgian, who was supported on the day by a strong quick-step team.
But yeah, the team is really good, and the other guys were working on the flat, and Michael did it on the mountains, and when a guy like Michael pulls on the mountains, it's really great.
The day of non-stop action produced no changes in the top 3 overall, but Michael Rogers fell to 9th and Jeremy Hunt dropped out of the top 10.